Hello, everyone. Sorry if there was a delay. I wasn't sure when it was going live, but I hope I'm live. So today we are going to be doing a really fun session, designing a website in the matter of minutes. But this course or this workshop will be about an hour and 15 minutes long. And I am going to be reviewing all things XD with you, as well as just the UX process in it of itself. I'm Elise. I am an Adobe XD instructor. I'm also a content creator. I create content on TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, all the things. And I also do a bunch of workshops and events on UX education and Adobe XD. So I'd like to get to know you. Who's out there? I love to get to know people who are attending through the chat. I see Jenny says hello. Hi, Jenny. Please tell me, what's your skill set? Are you a designer? Are you a developer? Are you just dabbling? And what project are you working on for this hackathon? Hi, Janet. Good to see you too. Good to see you guys. Nancy, oh, my lady's in the house this morning. Yeah. Say a little hello. What's your skill? What are you working on? Love to get to know just a little bit about you before we get into the session today. Also, Yvette is a data analyst. So cool. Did I say data? Data analyst. Nice. Thanks for sharing. I'm so excited to be doing this for a hackathon. I have never done a hackathon myself. But I love seeing the designers that I work with and seeing some of the case studies that come out of this. And I really have been meaning to do one myself. So I'd love to hear back from you guys after this session, if it's helpful for you to kind of learn this really quick way of going about and building websites and apps. Jenny's trying to learn more about UX and the UX researcher role. Super cool. Thanks, Jenny, for sharing. All right, moving on. So what we're going to be covering today is just briefly, what is UX design? Sometimes that's pretty ambivalent right now in the community. And I want to sort of show what UX really is and a little bit about the process. We're going to talk about how to design and prototype in XD really, really quick, fast websites, fast apps. Also, how to share with developers and with team members as you're working together. And we're also going to be doing Q&A and giveaways. What? Yes, we're going to be doing 2 giveaways, 1-year Creative Cloud subscriptions today at the end of the session. So there is a little Google Doc or Google form that's out there for you guys to fill out and give your name so that you can be part of the raffle. Yay. And it's a small group, so it's going to be really awesome. You have high chances, I think, of winning. So let's begin with, what is user experience? Yeah, we have the link now in the chat. So what is UX? Well, I always like to begin with thinking about the opposite. Like, what is a frustrating bad experience? This is how I like to think about UX. So have you guys ever had a frustrating experience offline where you're like going into the store, it says pool on the door, but it's really it's really just a push? Like, have you ever had that? Something weird like that? You're like, this is weirdly designed. That's terrible. Or maybe you're going to the elevator and you're seeing all these numbers and you're like, oh my gosh, where am I supposed to click? Right? There's all of these kind of in-person frustrating experiences. Maybe you're someone who's like myself, like on Yelp, like, I didn't like that the music was too loud and the menus were hard to find, right? You're one of those people. If you guys are can put in the chat, what is a frustrating experience you've had? I'd love to know as well. Let's talk about some frustrating online experiences. So this is a big one. Have you guys ever tried to create like a password and it's like, what are all the things I need to do to create a password? And you're like trying to hit all the things that they say to do and you're still not getting it right. It's like, oh my gosh, this is really frustrating. Or maybe you're trying to buy something and there's just so many fields and it's like overwhelming and you're like, I want to do this later. I'm just going to leave and I'm not going to continue on with this. So let me know too if you have any online frustrating experiences. Jenny says, once saw an emergency button at a gas station open and easy for any pedestrian to access. Oh yeah. That's really just, yeah, that's really scary. Thanks for sharing, Jenny. So who is affected by bad user experience? And of course, it's us, right? The users, the people who are experiencing these types of things, who are maybe like Jenny, are like, this is just like a little weird that this is happening. Or Janet right now saying an online grocery with way too many options is frustrating. Having too many options is frustrating. People think that that's a good thing, but in actuality, it's overwhelming, right? So, of course, us as the customers are frustrated, but also the business. If you recall that previous example of maybe there's too many things you need to do before you can check out or you can buy something, it becomes really frustrating. And now companies and businesses are losing out on tens of thousands, if not millions of dollars because of these frustrating experiences. So UX design to the rescue. UX superheroes. What do they do? Why are they to the rescue? Well, UX is in between the users, understanding what users' needs are, their behaviors, what their problems are. We are also understanding the business goals, their needs, financial needs is a big one. And then technology, what technology is out there, but also what constraints do we have? And we always make sure that we have conversations with our developers, with our business stakeholders, with our users. And we're in that sweet spot in between trying to create ultimate experiences for all involved. Nancy says, it reminds me of when you ask friends, what do you want to eat? Yeah, you're like, Thai? No. You want like burgers? No. Too many things. So it's not just about how it looks. UX is not just about that. And that's what typically people think that it is. But UI is the user interface, the presentation layer. So the things that you're actually clicking on, etc., right? The visual of the experience. But UX is how that user actually engages with that product. Are they frustrated? Are they happy? Do they even understand how to get to the site? Do they even understand how to check out or put in their payment information? All these things that could be even outside of just that presentation layer that can be really frustrating or good or confusing or such a delight. And that's what user experience is. And it's a bit elusive, right? So what does that mean? How do we understand how to do UX without just thinking about the interface? So we are talking about what is the UX process? What is it? How do we get there? Well, we begin by research, understanding users. By talking to users, we go and sit, chat, or maybe virtually through a video chat, a phone call, and we ask them a lot of questions, trying to really understand what problem they have and how they go about a certain behavior, how they go shopping, etc. We really want to understand our users. Then from there, we move into the ideation phase. This is when we start thinking of the ways to solve for a problem. We always want to understand what problem, as designers, we're trying to solve, right? So we're thinking of all the different ways that we can solve it. And from there, we'll create a design. Sometimes we'll talk about this in a little bit, low fidelity sketches to high fidelity. And then we'll create a prototype, just something quick and fast that we can get in front of people and see what they think about it. And this is the testing and refining stage where we're like, is this what people want? Do people know how to navigate it? And from there, we refine it and sometimes completely trash it and move on and move into a whole new idea. And that's why it's a very iterative process where we don't want to get too attached to our designs. It's why we try to move really quickly. And we kind of go through this process over and over until we feel really confident about our designs. People like feel good about it. They love it. They understand how to use it. And then we move on to development and actually developing it and shipping it out there and doing more testing and everything like that. So it's kind of a longer process, right? It's never ending in a lot of ways. So let's begin with what is a wireframe? What is this low fidelity stage? And low fidelity is when we're just doing the basic architecture of our screens and we're really thinking about the flow. This is a term we use a lot, which just means the steps that the user is going to take to accomplish their goal on the site. So if they want to buy something, how do they go from the home page to the product page to the checkout to the payment to the confirmation? That is the flow. So that's what we're really working out. General architecture. We don't put any colors. We don't put any final typography, or we're not making it beautiful. We're just understanding that structure. And at this phase, we're typically testing it out with our users at this stage and seeing what they think about it. Does the flow, do those steps make sense? Then we go into high fidelity, where we're putting all the branding, colors, final typography, content, everything, interactions, animations, jazzing it up. And this is when we start to feel really confident about the solutions that we've come up with. And so we don't go to this stage typically very early on because we don't want to get too attached to our designs. When we start making it beautiful, you start getting attached to it. So I always say that it's like building a house. You know, UX is the foundations, the plans, the actual architecture of the house. And then UI is painting it, putting the interior design, making it all beautiful and happy. And that's what the UI layer is. So today we're going to be focusing more on designing and prototyping that whole aspect to hopefully get you to be able to get a product out there or design out there really quickly. XD is free for the starter personal use, so feel free to download it today. We are going to, you have the opportunity to download it and to work through some of this with me in real time if you so choose and have a second monitor you have. Or we also have this video recorded, so you will have access to this later and you can download XD and then download the plugins that I'm going to refer to, and then you can work with me, like have the video play, pause, work in your own XD file, and feel pretty confident, hopefully in about 30 minutes to an hour of working in it. We are also on Discord. So Adobe Creative Cloud Discord is now available, and this helps you to connect with designers all over the world. It also has opportunities for mentorship and guidance within Discord. There's all these upcoming events that they have on there as well. And there's also a lot of other giveaways also. So I will also be giving away two more things today. If you guys just attended, I have 2 one-year Creative Cloud licenses that I'm giving away at the end of today. I'm raffling that off. So we have at the top there's a raffle giveaway form at the top. If you can fill that out with your name, and you will be entered into the raffle. All right, let's get into XD now that we have a basic understanding of UX, UI, the differences. What I want to first show you is just a prototype that is in XD that can show you just some of the capabilities that you can do with prototyping. And this is probably not something you would be doing through a hackathon, but just to show you where you can go in the design, especially if you've already have some basic understanding of XD, you can push yourself to these kind of next level to make it feel even that much more real. So here we have a timed transition. You're going to see in the middle here, there's some animations here. We have a drag feature. So when you're actually sharing this on mobile, people can actually drag and experience this. We're going to show a lot of animation here, a lot of movement, again, just making it feel that much more real, beautiful. And here we have states where you can actually turn on and off buttons. You can have interactive states as well. And this is all done in one artboard. Here we have another time transition with some animation. We have this blur effect. I can't show this today because it doesn't work when I'm on this mic, but we also have voice interaction and sound. So you can have sounds play, you can have a conversation through the prototype. And there's actually a plugin with Alexa where you can prototype your voice prototypes as well. So let's do basic tour of XD if this is your first time. Nancy says, hi, Fidelity, looks amazing. Isn't it pretty? This is why we don't start with that. It looks too nice. You don't want to trash that. So let's begin with basic tour. This is what we call our pasteboard, this whole big gray area where we have all of our artboards that we're designing. On the left-hand side over here in this area is the toolbar. And so the first top selection is select. So that's so you get into select mode. And there is also right underneath that, the rectangle. Then we have ellipse, circle, polygon. We have the line, text, artboard, and those are the basic tools that you're going to be using. It's really lean, really, really lean. So if I want an artboard, which is what I have all of my screens on it, they're all confined into an artboard. I just select artboard, and over here on the right-hand side, I get to select, is it desktop? Is it mobile? What device size is it, etc. And as you can see here, there's my artboard laid out. Right, and then I can use the other tools here. So I can go into select mode if I want to get back into that. The next one underneath was that rectangle. I can select rectangle and I can make a rectangle. I can select the circle here and make a circle. Line, line. And then underneath this text, right? So these are the basic fundamentals, all the tools really that you're going to be needing. We get fancier than that in a little bit, but why it's so lean is because if you notice on websites and apps, all we basically are creating is a bunch of circles, squares, and lines in text, okay? So you see it's like square, square, line, text. You know, here's YouTube. Rectangles with rounded corners, circles, lines. Here's a lift, you know, rectangles, text, some imagery, right? And it's really quite simple. So we don't have to sometimes get really too fancy with it. And that's why it's such a lean toolbar there. Now, let's say I wanted to make something fancier. I get my rectangle and I place it here. What you might notice now is on the right-hand side is called my property inspector. And this is where we get fancy. This is where we can do all the fun things like changing colors, and we can make corners more rounded and whatnot. And you can play around with here, but just so you know, basically anything you want to do to start to play around and manipulate your text, your shapes, anything is over here on the right-hand side, your property inspector. So don't get lost. You don't have to, there's not that many places to go in here. Once you've selected something, you're able to change it here. If I select some text, I'm able to change it here, okay? So you're gonna be going in and out of that select mode quite a bit. I would recommend using the shortcuts too, right on the left-hand side where it says select, there's also, it says V. So that's my shortcut, right? If I go and hover over the rectangle, R's right there, that's my shortcut. So if you want to go to that next level of using shortcuts, feel free and play and do that. All right. Now, underneath that toolbar at the very bottom left corner down here, the first here is my document assets. So this is where all of my colors, character styles, components, audio files, everything like that. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But just know that that's where it lives, my document assets. Right underneath that is my layers panel. So if I select this rectangle here, I can see that layer in my artboard. So if I have text on here, that's now another layer in my artboard. And that's how you can select the different layers as well. All right. Underneath that is your plugins. And this is where we're going to talk a lot about today, because we're building something really quickly. Our website's fast. And in order to do that, we're going to be using a couple plugins today. So that's where the plugins live. And I'll show you where to download the plugins in just a second. Now, at the very top, where it says design, prototype, and share, this is when we're in design mode and we're creating our designs. When I'm ready to prototype and link things, I go into prototype mode. Then when I'm ready to share to create these share links with developers, with other design members, etc., I can go into share to create these links. And I'm going to talk more thoroughly later, but just so you know, that's where it lives. All right, guys, you ready to get going? And let's start this show. What we're going to first do is we are going to download the plugin that I want to begin with. And so to download plugins, it's up here in the top left corner, boop, 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 plugins. Okay. At the very bottom of yours, it's if you don't have any plugins, it's going to be at the very top. Browse plugins is where you're going to go to. And then you're just going to click the little search button over here on the right, and you're going to do type in quit. Oh my gosh, it's so hard for me to say this morning. Quick mockup. All right. And then it should have this little install button right there, and you should just be able to install it just like that. Another one I'm going to be using today is Icons for Design. Right here with the little teacup, and you can download that guy. And the other one I use all the time is Free Stock Search. So this is another one here with a little eyeball. Those are the three plugins that I'm going to be using. And a plugin really just enhances XD all that much more, right? It's just like another tool to be able to use. So what we're going to begin with is the plugin for quick mockup. So once those are all downloaded, I'm going to now find them in that bottom left-hand corner, plugins, if you recall, right? And then I'm going to find the quick mockup plugin down below in here, and I'm going to select that guy. All right. So once you've selected the quick mockup plugins, you're going to see these different themes: minimal, foundation, fluo, blah, blah, blah. You have a couple options here. You can choose whether you want to start with low fidelity wireframes, right? That's part of the UX process. But when we're thinking about hackathons, you can also just move straight into these other fleshed out visual design where they have the colors, etc. But I'm going to show you how to start with the wireframes with the minimal template initially. So I'm going to select this minimal template. And once I do that, I have two options. Over here, there's elements, and then there's templates. Okay. What elements does is I can grab an artboard. Here's my artboard. And A for artboard is the shortcut there that I just used. And I can then, what I would typically suggest is before you start designing away in a tool is to just do some really rough sketches on a piece of paper, whatever you'd like, to understand the basic format of your screens. Again, that's just a UX best practice. Do what you feel, just so you kind of understand what needs to be on the page and why, before we just start like plopping a bunch of stuff on the screen. So once I have a basic understanding of what I want, and you don't have to be a good drawer to do so, only you need to understand what's on those screens, you can start placing things down. You can place, here's an image. I went out of the plugin. You can place an image, you can place typography, right? And you can start laying it out and changing out what you want. you know, the website, blah, blah, blah. And you're just basically creating that basic foundation. I made a really big artboard. I'm just going to get rid of this guy. So that's how you can just start working with the elements themselves, building upon it yourself, how you want that screen to look. But there's also these templates as well, and they have for both desktop as well as mobile. So in here are a bunch of different templates you can use. If you're building like a website, it's probably you can just use one of these templates to start to begin with. You don't have to keep every element and style from these websites. It could just be something like this, or I have a home screen for desktop. And then I'm also maybe wanting to do something responsive. So I might go into the mobile over here. You can see I'm going to go into the mobile view and then grab the mobile version of the home page. So I have these two to work off of next to one another. It does take a little while for this, sometimes for this plugin, because it's kind of a beefy plugin. And then from here, you can start to make it more your own, right? This is the very beginning where you can start to structure it how you want it. Maybe you're looking at this like, I don't need a video. I'm going to just remove that. I don't even need these, or maybe you do want these solutions and you're like, but I want to like move them over here. I want to move this up here. And maybe perhaps you decide, okay, I want to have an image as well. You can go back to elements if you so choose. And then you can grab an image. Maybe you do something like that. And you manipulate and change your designs in the property inspector a little bit over here. And you just start to like play around with alignment, whatever you want to do. Okay. That looked terrible. Oh no. Okay, there we go. So you can really manipulate this and do as you please and change out the content and whatever you want. I'm deciding I'm going to do like a music website. So I was going to put at the top like music site for music lovers. It's a terrible name, but I'm keeping it. So you can have something like that. And then you can start manipulating your mobile design as well to match. And let's say we removed that. We moved this up. We moved this down. I got rid of the newsletter, right? You can, again, just manipulate and change it however you see fit that matches your design that you want to have. Okay, I'll just take it to there for now. And then I'm going to also have an about page. So I'm grabbing the about for mobile, and that's coming in. How are you guys doing out there? And the chat's been quiet. You're just patiently watching. Is this interesting, this plugin? It'll be magic in just a few minutes. So just you wait. I'm going to grab a of the About Us page as well. And again, go ahead and place your own content, manipulate, change it as you see fit. These are just like we call these UI kits where you don't have to create every single button and every text and all these things from scratch again, so you can save time. This is the purpose of it. Yeah. And feel free to ask questions in the chat. So now let's say I've manipulated, I've moved this, I've changed it as I want. It feels like what I want. Now I can take all these artboards. I'm just going to select all of them. And you can just select, how you select an artboard is you're just going to select the name at the top here. So it's highlighted. And I can just shift and select all of them. Then from here, I'm going to go into the left over here in my plugins where it says themes. This is where the magic happens. And I can change out the themes here. So now let's say I'm like, okay, I want this Malibu theme. And now what it's doing is just replacing all of the colors, typography, images, everything, and applying this UI style to it, this high fidelity version of it. Okay, so there's all these different versions. Because I'm doing this music one, I really like this kind of dark, cool style that they have going on here. That's the one I'm gonna go with. Jenny says, my plugins are taking a while to upload. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, especially the quick mockup one. All the plugins in XD are super fast, but this one is the slowest because it's just so, again, meaty. It's got a lot going on in it. It's like completely transforming and doing makeovers for you. So here is now the design, right? And from here, you can still manipulate and change this. Let's say I don't love the colors. I don't love pink. I want to make this more my own. Now here's where I'm going to show you document assets. So we were just over here in the bottom left-hand corner. I am in plugins. I'm going to get out of plugins and go up to the very top where it says libraries. And then here are my document assets. All right, so these are all the colors that I'm using. I added these already. But let's say I want to change this pink on all of my artboards. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab this pink, make sure just this is rectangle is highlighted. And I'm gonna add it to this with this little plus button here next to colors. This little plus button, okay? Now this pink is there and it's like has a little gradient. What I wanna do is I want to now right click where that pink is in my colors document assets, and I'm gonna click edit. From there, I can now change out my colors. I'm gonna do like this purple, let's say, and I want a purple to pink gradient now. You can also change it here at the top. You can have a solid color or different type of gradient style, but I like the gradient. I just want a different gradient. Okay, so now I have all purple to pink, and that's more of the style I want to go for. Now that's one way of starting to manipulate and change the colors to make it however you want to make it. I can also do the same thing here. I'm just going to select just the rectangle, this background, and I'm going to add it into my colors. Now, anywhere that is using this color, once I right click and edit, it will change. So maybe I want to go for something more blue cool. Now it's like blue with this gradient, right? So here's where you can start to really change the UI. And so it doesn't look just like everyone else's template. You can start manipulating it. Same thing goes with typography. So I'm going to close my little colors and I'm going to go over here to character styles right underneath colors in my document assets. Okay. I'm going to grab this, this heading, this H1 here. I'm just going to add it. And it's using Noto Sans. I can just right click edit and I can change the typography to, whatever I want to have here. So I'm going to use Montserrat. Okay. And you can do that for all of the typography. Just add it, right click, and anywhere that's using Noto Sans 6 point will now change to Montserrat. So you just saw, or maybe you did it really fast, all of these now change to Montserrat. So I can go ahead and do that. Again, making it more my own, playing around, having fun really quickly using these document assets panel here. Okay. So now, of course, the big thing here is images. I have all these images I don't want for my music site. I want to have music related pictures. This is where I'm going to use my plugin, the free stock search plugin. And how I get to that. So we already downloaded it right from before, and we're just going to go down to the bottom left-hand corner to this plugins, back over. Now I'm going to start to go out of quick mockups just by hitting the little back arrow back to plugins. Now I can see all my plugins, and I'm going to do free stock search. You can just type in whatever you want, concert, I can type in dogs, whatever, and it's pulling in these different from different free stock sites. So this little settings under photos, you can also do vectors and icons as well. You can select which platforms you want to pull from. So Unsplash, Pixabay, Pexels, etc. So I'm going to pull in concert. What that means is, so I'm going to just, something I'm going to really recommend that you do is when you want to just get into a specific layer, sometimes things are grouped together like this. If I want to get into a specific layer, I'm just hitting on Command to get into it. Oh, and then I need to look up the, if anyone knows actually on Windows, what is the same button for that. It just left my mind. So I use Command for Macs to get into just that specific layer, that rectangle with the image. Then let's say I'm going to pull in this image and see how it has this little select. It already has a little check mark. Down at the very bottom, I can say apply selected files. And now it has the background image there. It's kind of like a little too intense, right? You can't see the text here. So to manipulate and change anything I want, colors, photos, typography, you go to the right-hand side in the property inspector. Don't get lost. This is where we do all the things. And from here, I have like my appearance. I'm just gonna like lower my appearance so more of the background blue is coming up, and now it's like kind of making that much more legible. Then down below here, see when I select this whole thing, it's taking my whole group. I don't want my whole group. Again, I'm just going to hit Command to just select this layer for the image. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to hold Shift, and I'm going to do the same thing for these three, just selecting that layer while holding Command. If this is too complex, just go ahead and hit Command to select one and do it one by one. But if you feel comfortable, you can hold Shift and Command. And so now I can like select which images I want to be pulled in, and I'm just going to apply those 3 images, and now they're plopped in. Right? So same thing here. I can just pull in these images. I can change out some of these background ones, changing the appearance. Right? So I'm really manipulating this home site to be how I want it to be. It doesn't look like just the template anymore. And you can also play around with placement. Maybe you want these left aligned and you want to change and manipulate things. Feel free to make it more your own. You also don't have to use these plugins for images. XD makes it so easy to place in an image. So let's say I make a rectangle and I want an image here. That's my rectangle tool to make that. And I can actually just take any, let's see what image I have here. I want to just take in any image that I have. I just grabbed it from my downloads, placing it into that rectangle, and it just automatically masks it. So feel free to like go ahead and find images wherever you please. This is just one of the ways I use to make things faster. Again, feel free to like ask any questions as we go through this. If anything is confusing you or you're lost, feel free, and I'll redo things for you so that it's more clear. So we talked about typography, we talked about colors, and we talked about images. Now I'm going to just talk a little bit about icons. What Quick Mockup does is they also have a library of icons that you can use. So I want to get out of this plugin for images. Michael, can you show us how to do a clipping mask? So You can also grab in an image and you can have a shape that you want, and let's do a circle. So now I have my circle on top, and I'm just going to take this circle and hold shift to have both of these selected, and I can right click and mask with shape. You can also do it by going into your property inspector here, and there's all these different ways that you can actually manipulate using these Boolean operations here, but just the second one to the left here is where you can also mask it into there. And of course, like the first way I showed, just having a rectangle or a shape and throwing an image in. All right, so going back to icons, I'm going to go from in my plugins into quick mockup. So I'm back in that plugin. And then from there, I'm just going to keep double clicking till I get to this layer. I just want the icon layer. If I zoom in, you're going to see this blue highlight. That's how you kind of like, let's say I click into here and it's like, I want to get just into this layer. That's another way of going about it. You're just double clicking, double clicking, double clicking till you get into that exact layer. So let's say from there, I want to change my icon over here on the left-hand side where it says has all these icons. You know, I can search for a specific icon and I can select it, and it's just going to replace that icon. Right? So maybe you have an area where it's using these icons and you're like, oh, I want to change it to something else. Maybe, you know, it's like a Facebook logo or whatever. So you can go ahead and manipulate that. Now, let's say you they don't have the icon that you want in quick mockup. That's why I also provided, you can go back outside into your plugins menu, and there's a third one that I provided and asked you guys to download that I recommended, which was Icons for Design. And from here, you can search for things, you know, like a graph or something like that, and they pull in all these different icon libraries, material design, awesome icons, etc. And then it doesn't work exactly the same way where you can just like select something and then like click this. It doesn't work exactly where it just replaces it. That's only for the icons within quick mockups. You're going to have to delete this, and then you'll have to place this one in, and then you can manipulate the colors and whatnot there. Here over here on the right hand side, we have like one of the ways that you can control colors, right? So if you're confused with the document asset colors and these colors in your property inspector, this is where you can change any color that you want. But what this doesn't do is change out every single, I can't manage all of my assets, all of my colors from here. This is just changing one-time change. I want to like move it to this color, cool. When you want to start doing the whole changing all the colors on every single page and whatnot, that's when you're going to use your document assets colors over here, adding them, editing them, etc. Okay. All right. So we talked about basically everything you need to do in order to manipulate and change with icons, images, everything like that. So do you guys feel confident about the design aspect? Any questions in particular about that? Let me know, and I'll go back to that as I sort of start to mosey on to team collaboration a little bit. So one of the ways that you can start to work with teams and everyone is designing in the same file at the same time, you can go over here in the upper right-hand corner. There's this little person, and it has this little hover invite to document. So from here, I can invite other team members with their Creative Cloud email address, and I can invite them to be able to edit this file. If I want for us to be able to work and get into the same file and design at the same time, you're going to have to enable co-editing down below here. What I will say is make sure that you guys are all on the same version of XD. If you're not, there's sometimes these little complications. So just make sure you guys are all in the same version, and then you can enable co-editing and work in the same file at the same time. Okay. Cool. We just got a question about prototyping. Yes, that's what's going on next. So prototyping, now we have our designs, we're ready to make it interactive. We're gonna move from design mode on the upper left-hand corner to prototyping mode. Okay, so now that we're in prototyping mode, it looks the same, right? Nothing looks like it's changed. So sometimes you'll forget, am I in design or am I in prototyping mode? So you're here, you're in prototyping mode. And what you want, let's say we're like, okay, when I click onto this about, it's going to go into the other screen. Now, if you recognize when I clicked into here, the whole thing, it's called the group. This is a group of layers was selected. If you want to get to just one layer, do you remember? Double click to get into it. Okay. I hope that rhyme will stick in your head. Just double click to get into that layer. Now just the about is selected, and it has this little blue arrow that's like, where shall I go? Where do you want me to go? And so I'm just going to take that little blue arrow and I'm going to drag this wire to this artboard. So when I click about, it's just going to go into this full artboard. Now, just like in design, where there's a property inspector where you're able to edit and manipulate, you're doing the same thing here as well. On the right-hand side, you can manipulate and change this prototype wire. So it can be a tap, drag, you can use voice, etc. For today, we're just going to work on the default settings because that's what's typically going to be used, is just a simple tap. And then the action here, there's transition, then there's all these other fancy ones, auto animation, overlay, etc. Today, we're just going to keep it on transition, basic transitions. You probably don't need to go much further than this, but feel free to play around and have fun if you want to and see what those other options are. And I'm just going to keep the destination and easing the same. All right. Janet asks if her friend doesn't have the same plugins, would that limit what they see? No, they will still see the same things, the same output. They just wouldn't be able to manipulate and edit and do all those types of changes that you're able to do with your plugins. So I have my about going into this screen, and then I want it so that on this screen, when I click my little logo, I'm going to drag my little arrow to the home page, and so that when I select it, it's going to go to that page. Okay. So one thing, okay, I'm going to show you something, and then I'm going to show you how to fix it. Okay, so now I'm ready to play my prototype. Okay, and here I am going to select this artboard just by selecting the name. It's highlighted, and now I'm going to go over in the upper right hand corner where there's a little play button in the very top right corner. It says desktop preview, and I'm going to play it. So now I can play my prototype. See, I can scroll about, and then if I want to go to about, it's just so this was the problem I was going to show you that happened. Sometimes that happens and you're like, what just happened? It's what we call the viewport height. So if I go back and actually into design mode, if you notice there's this little blue line, dotted line, it's my viewport height. So over here on the right-hand side, says scrolling, and it's like, do you want scrolling or you don't want scrolling, basically? So yes, I want vertical scrolling, so this one works. And the viewport height is 768. This is basically, above the fold, what a user can see in their screen before they start scrolling. But in this one here on my about screen, it says the viewport height is 4221. What? That's crazy. So that's why the whole thing was being shown. So now we just want to change this viewport height to 768. And you can see this, and you can also manipulate and change it this way as well. So if that happens to you, don't worry. It's just in design mode. Change the viewport height. Okay, so now I'm going to go back into my home page, go over in the right-hand corner. Let's see if it all goes well this time. Press the little play button and click About. Now I'm here and it works right how I wanted it to. Then I go into the logo, select that, and I'm back into the home page. So you can just have fun again with just creating these basic prototyping links to get that interaction to make sure it feels like it's a real website. All right, any questions for prototyping? That was a real quick basic overview. Should feel pretty simple, right? You just can select something. You can, go into prototype mode first. Then you can double click to get into a layer and just drag that little wire where you want it to go. Hi, Jessica. Prototypes. All right. Let's move on to the next phase, which let's say we want to start sharing this. And we want to share this with, let's say, users for user testing. We want to share an external link for other team members to just look at. They don't want to actually be in the design file. Maybe we want to share with other developers and they also don't need to be in the design file for this. So how you can do that is first, when you are in prototyping mode, you want to select what your home screen is. This is the first screen that the person will see. So when I selected this artboard, you can go into the little house select, it's deselected, and I select it, and now the little blue, it's blue and highlighted, and it's like that's your home screen now. Shweta says, that seems simple. I can do it. Cool. Yay, I'm glad. Jenny, how to select one element to drag it to another element on the same page. How to select one element to drag it to another element on the same page. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that. Let me know what you mean by that, Jenny, a little bit more. Have I already shown it maybe in my prototype? Is this the drag that you were asking about in this compass design? Let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to move forward and then I'll come back to that question. So we just created our home screen here, right? And you can actually double click flow number 1 if you want to like rename it, music website, whatever you want. Now I'm ready to share. So when I go now into share mode, I can start to share. Now you're going to see when I go into share mode, some things are highlighted and some things are not. Why is that? Anyone can guess? It's because it's because these are prototyped to each other. When I went from here, I created a prototype and linked it here. So whatever is linked together will be selected. So let's say I wanted to do this flow number 3 here. If I select this, all of these are connected to each other through my prototyping links. That's why it's selected and why none of these other artboards are. So you can create multiple links inside to share. Okay, so if something is not linked that you're like, oh wait, I want in my when I share this, that artboard to be part of it, you need to make sure it's linked somehow. So now I can create different types of links over here. Again, in the right-hand side in your property inspectors where you're going to edit and change things. It's where things typically are on the right-hand side. And you can change how you want to, who you want it to share it for and like kind of the, how that file will look to the person you share it with. So is it a design review? Or are you just getting feedback from other designers or other people or stakeholders on your design? Is it for developers to look at? Is this a presentation? Are you doing user testing, etc.? Right? So I'm going to choose development. And something here that I have not talked about yet, that many people will forget at this point is if you want to share for developers and you want the developers to easily be able to download all the assets, the images, icons, everything, you have to make sure that you've selected downloadable assets here. But it's disabled because we haven't added any assets. We haven't marked any assets for export. What does that mean? This is probably one of the more tedious little tasks that we have to do. It's not so bad actually, because back in the day, you'd have to export everything yourself in all these different formats. Now what we do is we go back into design mode. And so I want this rectangle with an image to be exportable so that the developer can just download it from that link I'm going to share with them in a JPEG, PNG, whatever format. And I go over to the property inspector. At the very bottom of the property inspector, it says mark for export, and there's a little checkbox. Now that can be exported. All right, same thing goes for all these images. So you're just going to go through and you're going to mark for export. Same thing with these icons. You're going to just get into that icon, mark for export. Okay, so you'll just do that throughout your all your artboards to make sure that you are marking what you want to be downloadable. Okay, now we've done it. Now we can go back into share mode. Now you can see on the right-hand side in the property inspectors, it says downloadable assets, 5 assets. So there's 5 things that the developer can download. So I'm going to select that. Those are things that they can download. Then I'm going to select create link. And now this is going to create a whole link that we can share with the developer. Janet asks, and you need to mark for export one by one. Yes, you do need to mark for export one by one, unless something is, and we haven't talked about this, a component, something you're reusing over and over and over. Once you mark it once, it's reflected across all the other components as well. Shweta asks, can you show what you mean by this link thing? How only some are connected and others are not? Yeah, so for why some of these are connected is because we've created the prototype links. So if we recall, let's say, so right now, when I go into share mode, only these 2 artboards are selected. Well, now let's go back into prototype mode. And let's say I have, another artboard. Let's pretend this is one of my artboards. And I'm going to say, oh, when you click contact, I'm going to take my little wire and drag it over to this artboard. And now when I select contact, it's going to go to this screen. What that means now is when I go into to share mode, this is now highlighted and it's something that will be part of that share link. You just have to make sure a prototype wire is linked to one another, because it's saying these are all together. These are one prototype or one flow that you want to share. It's not going to take every single artboard that is there on your screen. So that's just something to consider. All right, so now when I've created that link over here in the right-hand side, there's this little option. It's called copy link. So I'm going to copy that link. And then I'm just going to place it into my browser here. Now from here, you can see the prototype in action. All right. And over here on the right-hand side is where you can make comments. Maybe your other team members that are working with you, they can place this little pin down and they can say, can you change the color? And you can submit that. And then another team member can reply like, no, I just love it. And you guys can have a little back and forth, right? You can also, if you're a designer and you want to convey something to your developers a little bit more, give them some more explanation, you can also use this as annotations in there. So this is one. So looking and actually interacting with the prototype is one aspect. Seeing the comments and being able to make any, respond back to any comments and so forth. And then because this is a developer's link, you can go over here on the right-hand side. All right, we're in the comment mode. Right underneath that, the little back brackets, it says view specs. Now, once I'm in this mode, this is really where the developers can be able to grab all of the hex codes, see all the character styles. They can select an object and be able to grab the CSS, see the appearance of it. They can grab text. So let's say this, if you see on the right-hand side, it says content, you can just grab that and content is copied. So they can copy and paste from here. Now you can also see, as I'm hovering over, you can see all of the specs. You can see all the spacing and everything between the different elements as well. Now, if I go into the home page, in the home page here, because I marked for export those 5 assets, those 3 images and 2 icons, now they're available up top here. So I select this image, and then down below in here on the very bottom, it says one bitmap asset as, and you can do PNG or whatnot, and then you can download it. I'll show you what that looks like. So now I have my PNG and as a 2x as well. So it automatically downloads as both. So you don't need to actually be in the design file to be able to share with your team members and developers if they don't actually need to manipulate and do anything in your design file. Sometimes it's like a little much for some people who don't really want to get into XD to be like, let me find a way to like grab the assets and export each of them individually and stuff. They can just have access to everything right here, everything that they need. Okay. That was a lot, guys, but I hope, I hope that it was something that you guys can use for this weekend to move really quickly, to move really in a way that's going to work really well for a team dynamic and that it makes sense to you. So I'm going to leave it open now for any questions that you have about what we saw here, about anything you really wish to ask for the next 5 minutes. And then I'm going to do the giveaway. I'm going to do the 2 free 1-year subscriptions to Creative Cloud. We just put it in the form to fill out if you want to be entered. I'm so glad you guys want to make this and copy its code. Do you guys feel like from watching this more confident, or who wants to actually use this quick mockups plugin? Does it interest you? Does it seem like something you can use for your projects? I'm really curious. What is going on with you guys? What do you guys think? Oh, we got some people who've entered in the raffle. Awesome. You know, there's only 14 people that have, 15 people. I'll give it a few more minutes. 15 people who've entered. So there is a very high likely chance that you guys are going to win. There's a good chance right now. Normally when I give it out, maybe it's like hundreds of people. And it's like, you know, a 1%, less than 1% chance. But this is great. Hannah says this is something you'd love to test out more. Awesome. Christy says it looks so simple yet so powerful. Yeah, awesome. I'm so glad. Shania says that developer and user testing tool sounds so amazing. Yay! I'm so glad. I'm really curious to see what you guys do with this. Jenny says, feel more confident about my projects. Yay, I'm so glad. That's all I could hope for, is for you to feel more confident as you move forward and to move really quickly. I just created a mock-up for a homepage that I'm working on in, I don't know, 7 to 10 minutes the other day for one of my clients, and they were so happy with it. And I used just a couple sections from this quick mock-ups and just did use the plugins for this free stock search and the icons, and it was like boom, boom, bam. And they were super happy. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just that quick. Jenny says, should I still enter? Yes, you should still enter. You've got another 2 minutes to still enter for the raffle. Please, please do. Hannah says, is there a good way to switch from other websites? I made one on Squarespace, but might be interested in trying it out through XD. So Squarespace is different because Squarespace is already a live site. So that's different than this. This is static. And so there is actually this new platform called Quest AI, I think, where you can go straight from building an XD and export it into a live site. So that is something that you can try out. And it's called Quest AI. I'll just put it in the chat. Pretty sure it's called that. So that's something you can try. Otherwise, like what I do for my own website is I design everything in XD, and then I actually put everything into Webflow. So I do have to recreate everything again straight into Webflow. Yeah. But so it is a bit of like, maybe it can seem like double the amount of work, but this is for really me to suss out the actual designs and the look of the designs. So let's see. Shania asks for a plugin to check on accessibility, and there is one, and I will I'll look into it and get back to you. Oh no, I know one for sure. Yeah, this is the craziness that is my website I'm playing around with. So I created mine in XD here, and then I created a in Webflow. Here's my Webflow site, my actual designs. And the great thing about this compared to maybe Squarespace is some of the limitations in Squarespace that you have, but there are no limitations in Webflow. You can just like design whatever your heart's desire and then make it happen in Webflow. So that's really the major difference and why a lot of designers are using Webflow. It is a little bit more complex and more challenging to use. So the plugin for accessibility is, and by the way, feel free to go to my site to see any of my and sign up for my future events. I've got a lot coming up: customer journey mapping, intro to UX. I got Adobe Live where I'm going to be showing how to make my portfolio in XD coming up on the 1st and 2nd. So feel free to go to my site, alizeux.com, and sign up for my events. So here is the events. This plugin's called Stark, and this is where you can do colorblind simulations, etc. So that is for accessibility from that perspective. I think there might be some more, and I'll research and I'll put it in the Discord if you guys are in the Discord, the Adobe Discord. No, it's the SacHacks Discord, but under the Adobe channel. I'll put it in there. Ooh, Minju says, Minhajul, sorry if I'm saying that incorrectly, says it's a lot better than Figma. What? Ooh, what do you like more about it? That's exciting. So Michael says Adobe XD seems like a powerful design and prototyping tool. What are some pros and cons compared to other tools? Yeah, so XD is really known for being really fast. It is, they call it, designing at the speed of thought. So if you notice, like this is, there could be pretty heavy files and you can move really quickly within it. And so Sketch is quite slow and their plugins are quite slow, but XD is really fast. The other thing is, so performance, definitely a huge one. With XD, they're also really putting a lot of their efforts into prototyping. So making really powerful, beautiful animations and things to really take your prototypes to the next level, and making it fairly easy to do so. So it's not such a big learning curve. All the other prototyping tools I've used are either one, too complicated and frustrating, or B, too rudimentary. Can't do all the things I want. So Figma is not there yet with the prototyping, but Figma is browser based. And so a lot of companies too are really liking that it's all browser based. People can actually work, like 50 people can be in a file at the same time. And XD is not quite there yet with that. So if you want to be like a bunch of people designing in the same file at the same time, it's not really necessary for smaller teams or individuals, but that could be some of the pros and cons there. All right, so we're moving on to the raffle, guys. Ooh, we got a lot more names. We've got 32 names. What? That changed drastically. So I'm going to put in all the names here. And I'm going to click to spin. Ooh. Ariana, first winner of 1 year of Creative Cloud. Really exciting. Good for you. All right, who is next? Next winner. Is it going to be Kelly? Is it? Oh my gosh, it changed. Oh no. Abdullah, 1 year of Creative Cloud license for you. And so you should be receiving a email in the next week with your free Creative Cloud license code. And then I am actually going to be giving away, sorry, I don't have the picture for it right now, but I'm going to be giving away a 2 t-shirts. It says Design Better Together. I have the t-shirt myself, and I'm not wearing it, and I should have worn it. It's dark gray. It says Design Better Together with XD. So I'm going to have 2 other winners win that as well. So first winner for the t-shirt is Minhajul, winner of the t-shirt. Yay. 1 more t-shirt we're giving away. And you'll just be putting your address in once we send you the link. It'll be super easy. Who's going to win? Oh, Jessica. Yay. So we got more winners than you thought maybe today. And I really hope you guys enjoyed your session with me today. I had a lot of fun showing you guys how to create a website, hopefully in minutes. I love when people get super excited about what you can do with some of these XD plugins. And I will get back about the other accessibility plugins. I know that XD was working on some more, so I just want to check in and see for that. And I'll put that in the Discord. And we'll also put some more links in the Discord for you guys, some links that might help you out, some resources throughout this weekend. And I wish you guys all just the best of luck. And I hope to connect with you guys soon. All right. All the best. Have a great weekend and bye.